I abandoned my family because they deserved it. I abandoned my wife and my 13-year-old daughter a week after I discovered my wife's affair. It's now almost 6 months since that day. Our marriage had plenty of intimacy and was in good shape. I came home late from work, and there was a safety training seminar I had to attend. My wife Eve was sleeping on the sofa and a message with some emojis popped up on her phone. Emojis like I would use when I message her. I snooped and I found out what had been going on for at least 5 months. I knew the affair partner, Adam. He was a work colleague of hers. He was married and had 3 children. While reading the messages, something just snapped in my head. Over the course of reading their messages, I went from loving Eve more than anything, to hating her, to just going blank. Not just about her, but everything. Totally numb, I took pictures of the messages and went to bed. Eve was mad the next day that I went to bed without waking her up. She complained about neck pain from sleeping on the couch all night. During breakfast I didn't say a single word. My wife and daughter chatted away. They didn't seem to notice anything different about me. Or even acknowledge me. But I definitely didn't feel like myself. I went through all the daily motions. I went to work, did all the normal stuff. The only difference is I sort of stopped talking. Sadly, I realized that nobody seemed to even notice. It's like I wasn't even there. I started to understand that Eve and my daughter didn't really love me. I was in the house with them, but unless they wanted something from me they didn't really interact. I would get these pangs of pain, they would come and go. Sometimes they would overwhelm me completely. I walked around like this for 5 days before Eve asked me if something was wrong during dinner. I had maybe uttered 3 words in total to her and my daughter in that period. I didn't even answer her question, I just made a confused face, then continued eating. She seemed okay with that. The next day I didn't go to work. I didn't really have a plan. I put it in my car and walked around the neighborhood for a while. I ended up at the kitchen table waiting for the wife to come home. She came home with a few bags of groceries. She immediately started talking about her day while unpacking. I just sat at the kitchen table in pain. She didn't even look at me apart from one glance as she entered the kitchen. Daughter popped in and did the same. Their backs were turned to me and they talked about some trivial crap on sale. I have never felt so rejected, unappreciated, so alone. I was thinking back on our lives and all I could see was that they didn't care about me at all. They probably never did. I was an accessory to their life. I was hit with a wave of pain. I cried. Still they didn't notice, so I got angry, very angry. I had a glass of water in front of me. I stood up and threw it hard at the tiles over the sink. It just exploded. Glass shards rained over everything. They froze, unsure what to do when they saw my contorted tear-soaked face. It was uncomfortably quiet for a long while before I spoke. Eve, I know all about your cheating with Adam. My daughter looked at Eve. What? Is that true, Mom? Eve started to try to explain. She briefly glanced at me and said, sorry, I can explain. Then she turned back to our daughter and they started arguing. Again, it was like I was invisible or something. After a few minutes watching their increasingly heated argument, I just walked out and got in my car. I looked at them again through the window, still arguing in the kitchen. They didn't even notice I had left. I sat there for a few more minutes before I gave up and just drove off. It took maybe 15 minutes before Eve tried to call me, then call after call after call, then a flood of texts from both of them. I just ignored it and eventually turned the phone off. The next day I took half of our money out and called my boss. I told him I didn't know when I would be back. He told me if I didn't show up I was fired. I just told him okay and hung up. I just didn't care. I went to Adam's house. His wife opened. I gave her a copy of the messages and told her what Adam and my wife had been up to. I left her crying on the stairs. At the end of the day I ended up in a cheap hotel at the edge of town. The next few days were kind of a blur. Eve's older brother is a cop named Bob. Bob showed up on the 4th day. I don't know how he found me. He tried to interrogate me, but I didn't say anything. When I didn't engage, he told me I was under arrest and put me in cuffs. However, he didn't take me to the station like I expected. He took me home instead. Bob dragged me into the living room where my wife and daughter immediately started berating me. Still I said nothing. I just listened in amazement while they told me how terrible this was for them. What a terrible a-hole I was for making them worry. It went on for a while. In the end Eve screamed at me, say something. I stared at her for a while before calmly saying, I have nothing to say to you, Beach. Bob freaked out, and slammed me against the wall, screaming at me to not talk to his sister that way. I got a lot of satisfaction out of Bob's violent reaction. I don't know why, it made me so happy I was laughing. Bob's wife left him 4 months earlier. I smiled at Bob. You're pathetic, Bob. Did you hurt your wife, Bob? Is that why she left you? Bob hurt me hard. I went down. Wife and daughter started screaming their heads off. As I started to get up I just laughed even harder. I just couldn't help myself. I am still in handcuffs, laughing. I said, F you, Bob. He knocked me out cold this time. I woke up in the hospital. I puked all over the floor the second I opened my eyes, so I knew I had a concussion. Eve, Bob and my daughter were there. They were talking to me. I was too confused to make it out. A nurse appeared and asked them to leave. She got me a pan to puke in and called someone to clean. While she was taking my pulse, I told her that my family put me here and that they were not to come anywhere near me. If they came back into the room I would leave. I would just run away. She argued kind of sternly that running or even getting up was a really bad idea for me. But she would talk to security. I didn't see them again in the hospital. It was bliss. I decided to disappear, to turn into a ghost. I wanted nothing to do with these people ever again. I made a letter to each of them. I warned Bob that if he ever bothered me again I would report him. I told my daughter that Eve had betrayed me and that she would be without a father from now on. To Eve I made a longer letter. I tried to be as practical as possible. I told her to sell the house, that I won't be paying the mortgage or utilities anymore. I told her reconciliation, or even contact was impossible, especially after she had sent her brother to drag me back and hurt me senseless in front of them. I explained that I won't do anything for her ever again, so if she wants a divorce she will have to arrange it. I told her I will disappear and I don't want to be found. I ended it with, if she interferes with my life again I will simply end myself. I really regret giving her that last sentence. It's like I let her steal a little bit more of me, like I let her give me a little more pain. In the hospital I made a plan on how I could disappear. Eve gave the hospital some fresh clothes that they forwarded to me. Then one evening I just went out the rear fire escape. I triggered some kind of alarm. I was panicking a bit, but thankfully no one stopped me. I got back to the hotel to pick up my car. I traded it with a small RV and set off. I got a new phone. The only person I called was my father. I told him everything and told him if he gave my new number to anyone I would become totally unreachable, forever. He could call me if he needed to reach me if I needed to sign something. Other than that I wanted to be left alone. For the first few months I grieved the loss of my old life, but I came to realize that I grieved the loss of a fantasy. A memory that only existed in my head. The loving wife and daughter, the family, friends. It was all just an illusion in my head. These people never really cared for me. Over time I started to rebuild. Only this time I was a total ghost. I rent a safety deposit box to keep valuables and cash. I do odd jobs for money. I hunt and fish and scavenge. My money consumption is insignificant, so my cash reserves are actually growing. I don't pay taxes, I don't have a bank account. When people ask my name I answer. People call me Fred. I go out of my way to not contribute to society or anything else for that matter. All in all my life is getting better. At least now no one is using me for nothing but their own benefit while pretending they care about me. I don't know what happened to my wife and daughter, my old friends or the rest of the family. I don't know if I am divorced now or if I owe child support. I don't know what happened to the house. I don't really care. My father has tried to give me information a few times but I shut that down hard. He is the only one I speak to occasionally from my old life. Update: I abandoned my family because they deserved it. As I was reflecting on everything yesterday I was starting to experience something similar to the day I tried to confront Eve. The world got muffled. I felt I needed to log off. I called a hunting friend and asked if he could come over. We talked on the phone until he arrived, and the first thing he did was to confiscate all my ammunition. So he was pretty worried, I guess. He called my dad and stayed with me until he arrived. I have moved to a different city, so that took over 4 hours. Long story short. Dad arrived and he took me to see a doctor. As a result I have been committed to a psychiatric facility. The doctors suspect that I suffer from emotional and psychological trauma. Probably depression as well. Apparently, the numbness, extreme desire to self-isolate, strange reactive behaviors like laughing at being physically hurt, nobody loves me, feeling undeserving, reclusive, are pretty clear indicators according to the doc. I hope to talk to my daughter in the near future if the counselors say it's okay for me and her, and if she wants to. My dad has talked to her a bit about the situation. He tells me that she loves me and asks for me. My dad is with me for now and I will be monitored 24/7 for the next few days. They tried some medication but I had a very negative reaction, so they will try something else tomorrow. Also, Bob somehow found out about me and DM'd my account and apologized. Eve hadn't told him the real reason I left for the hotel. She had just told him about the glass in the wall, leaving the rest out. Bob told me he had informed his superiors what he had done when he found out. According to him, everyone that should be, has been informed. He was suspended and ordered to undergo anger management training. If I submit a complaint he would be dismissed. He has prepared a full written confession and all the paperwork for me if I choose to do so. All I needed to do was read it, and if I agreed to sign it he would be dismissed. I decided to call Bob's employer and plead in Bob's case that he continues as a cop. Bob visited me on Thursday. He had prepared all the paperwork for me to file a complaint against him. He made no excuses. He admitted his behavior was completely out of line. He apologized for losing his cool, and that it was entirely his fault. He pushed me pretty hard to file against him actually. But I have been thinking about him. I have seen him throw himself in the path of a punch to protect an old woman being attacked. I know a lot of his colleagues, and they always talk about how he will always go that extra mile to help someone. I found out why his wife divorced him as well. Bob doesn't make much, but he donates 10% of his salary and volunteers 3 days a week to help the homeless. Apparently his ex found this to be unbearable. Bob refused to stop helping, so she divorced him. Bob is a good man. He lost control one time. I lost my way for over 6 months. Edit: I have been out of the psych ward since Friday morning. I have been getting a lot of therapy and I am doing much better. I have daily treatment, but I no longer need to be committed. I suffer the after effect of emotional trauma and have mild PTSD. My behavior has naturally been off as a result of this. I have been in intensive therapy and I am getting some medication. I only take the meds now and again at this stage if I feel overwhelmed. Some of my behavior, especially the isolation, probably made things even worse for me. I have talked a lot to my daughter. She tells me she has forgiven me. She never meant to make me feel unappreciated. She loves me. The first few days I didn't actually believe her. But once I got some perspective I realized this doubt was all on me. I have apologized more times than I can count. She started telling me to stop apologizing actually. She has moved away from her mother and is living with my brother and his family at the moment. She gets along really well with his kids, and my brother has told us that she can stay for as long as she wants. I am in no condition to be a full-time parent at the moment, so for now, she will stay with them. My brother has arranged therapy for her and I will do my best to be the best father I can be from now on. My wife, Eve, has also moved out of the house, and is living with her parents. My father has been paying the mortgage for me, without me knowing. So the house isn't sold yet. I am not looking forward to going back there to all the memories. I have decided to sell the house and downsize to a tiny home and live a life closer to nature with less stress. I will try to rent or buy a plot of land and live as simply as possible, at least for a while. My daughter loves this idea and has been researching tiny homes like a pro. Adam, the affair partner, is trying to reconcile with his wife and has cut Eve off completely. Eve has been to my dad's house almost weekly begging for him to contact me and let her talk to me. If what her mother tells me is correct, Eve lost her job and is in a terrible way. Barely leaving her room at her parents' house, she is shunned by pretty much everyone according to her mom. I have found a lawyer today and will start divorce proceedings ASAP. I bought a whole case of my hunting buddy's favorite whiskey and spent Saturday night there, thanking him. He is a true friend. He probably saved my life. My wife's affair completely broke me and my family. I was so broken I couldn't even see it myself. Up until then I was sort of holding myself together by convincing myself that I was doing better. But the truth is I was hanging on by the tiniest of threads. Update 2. I abandoned my family because they deserved it. I have gotten a lot of therapy and I am fairly stable. My daughter is doing well. I am however a different person now. I have a hard time trusting people. Apart from my daughter I prefer solitude and I have a very low public profile in general. I don't know if I would say something is broken inside me. I guess you could say I am broken compared to who I used to be, but I am not unhappy. I am perfectly okay as a partial loner. I am just different now I guess. The house is sold and I bought a tiny home where me and my daughter live. It's not a tiny home like you see on TV. It has 2 separate bedrooms and a combined living room kitchen. It's in a secluded location on a forested hillside and it has a porch outside as big as the house and a wonderful view. I absolutely love the tranquility and the close proximity to nature in our new home. I am divorced, or almost divorced. It's just waiting for the formalities now. Expected time frame is 3 months. Soon-to-be ex has been begging me a lot for a second chance, almost daily, but she has not demanded anything from me. She doesn't try to excuse herself, she owns her affair. We used mediation and she has given me everything basically, all our assets and full custody. The only thing she has asked for is to be allowed to visit often so she can try to repair her relationship with our daughter. She has offered to cook and clean as well. But I don't want to feel like I owe her anything. I will keep the household operational. It's tiny anyway. And I need some chores for my daughter. I don't want her to grow up to be a spoiled brat. My daughter and soon-to-be ex relationship is very, very strained. We will have to see how it goes. From my perspective I have told her I want closure but there is no way of repairing our relationship. We will be co-parents, that's it. I have insisted on split custody since it's cumbersome to undo full custody after the divorce is final. Now that I can think straight, I want our daughter to have a relationship with her mother. I have forgiven her and moved on. I will live my life as I see fit from here on out. As for the assets I will give her half at the last minute, or directly after the divorce. We built up these resources during our marriage so it's only fair she gets half. But I really want to see if she will go through with it, actually giving me everything. She is very remorseful and I find it helps my healing. Soon-to-be ex is still struggling. Some would say she is an absolute wreck. She is going to counseling, we all are, including family therapy for my daughter's benefit. I am determined to try to make up as much as possible for my daughter for my mistake. My daughter is very sharp. I believe she has forgiven me but she watches very carefully how I act towards her mother. I am determined to be a good role model, so I will act exemplary. It's been incredibly hard to deal with the aftermath but I am finally starting to stabilize.